Hi, everybody. It's Dana Brooks from Basic Brooks, and you are back with another episode of the EmPower Hour brought to you by the EmPower Plant. Only this time, it is a very exceptional, extraordinary, fantastic episode because it is our 1-year anniversary of doing the EmPower Hour. We cannot believe how quickly it has gone by. I am joined today with most of our original participants. Let me see. I've got to get my view right, y'all. I'm not exactly. Okay, I got it. Okay, now I see people. Yay. And if I'm not looking at the center of the screen, don't get mad at me. I'm doing my best. I'm tech deficient because I'm on my own. I've got Kimmy Hogan back. Yay.
Hey.
And Kimmy just got out of a trial, y'all. Things are very much post-COVID normal for us. We're back in trial. She and Chris Nicholas were in a trial for a very deserving, wonderful client all week. So thank you for your work, and thank you for making time for us today for the anniversary special.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
We've got Carrie Roan back. Carrie, one of the original EmPower Hours.
Yay.
Remember? Thanks for coming back, making time and doing the video for us earlier.
I can't believe we've done 45 shows. 45. That's amazing.
I can't. Whenever I got the list of all the shows that we've done, the people we've had on, I'm like, wow, this is a good show.
Right.
Love it. Love it. We've got Rose Caswick, our original drink maker, back, Drink of the Week lady.
Hey.
Welcome back, Rose. We're going to come back around with you in a minute. We're going to talk about, we had some drink hits and we had some drink misses, didn't we?
Yeah. Drink fails. On a roll, though, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. No, it's been good lately, but we do need to come back and just kind of hit some highlights and give that the attention it deserves. Kia Thomas is back. Kia, our communications director, she is back. She's been on several shows now for the past, I guess, 3 or 4 months. So welcome back. We're excited to have your perspective since you've got come in on the kind of the last quarter here. So let's do this. Let's start by Rose. What did you make for everyone to have to drink today?
Yeah, this week I made a green tea cocktail. It's matcha powder, gin, agave syrup, lime, and mint. And it was inspired by, there was a Google Doodle this past week for Michio Sugimura. She's the first woman in Japan to obtain a doctorate degree in agriculture. And she studied green tea and like the properties of green tea and found how much vitamin C it is and why different flavors come out at different temperatures and different times and stuff. So cool. I bet you could make a green tea with liquor in it. And I was right.
Oh, I'm sure that you can. And if anybody can, Rose, I know that you could.
Oh, so, delicious.
I never did believe in you for that. But no, I'm big into that. I got into it last year because what is it that's special about matcha? You're drinking the leaves, not this.
Yeah, it's like they powder it, so you're not like steeping it the way regular tea is.
Yeah.
Dissolved.
You're actually drinking the leaf. And it's supposedly got a lot of caffeine in it, right?
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
I like it. I wish I could find it that didn't have any calories in it. That's my problem with it. It tastes good because it's so sweet.
You can get it at Starbucks over ice, and you can have them put like Splenda in it, so it doesn't have any sugar. It doesn't have any calories.
Yeah. I need to get into that.
Good.
Well, let's do this real quick. I need to get my phone and pull up the list. Does anybody have the list of the hits and fails of the drinks of the day?
I think that was a text, so we'll look.
Yeah,
we'll get it on the chat.
Let's see what that was.
So I know what the biggest fail was, which was the Negroni with mezcal. Nobody liked that.
The mezcal now is that smoky tequila, right?
Yeah.
I've never liked anything with that in it.
I have to say that I disagree. I think the biggest fail was when you were gone, Rose, and Whitney made the Whitney's Shirley Temple Corona.
How was it?
There's a lot of fails when Rose wasn't here, if I'm honest.
What was in it? What was in it? The Corona and Shirley Temple?
Like,
I don't even
like a beer. Yeah, that one showed up as parentheses universally hated. that was the review on that. No, let's see. The best was the hard cider sangria. Strawberry bourbon lemonade, and my personal favorite was the vodka watermelon slushy. I thought that was especially refreshing in the summer. And then of course any kind of a wine. let's see.
Wine
what
of
was
choice
also
never goes amiss. That's what we had on our first show since we're celebrating anniversary.
My favorite
Yeah.
moment was when we realized that Kim Crawford is a man.
That was horrifying. That was
that
truly
was
horrifying. That should be in the blooper section of EmPower Hour fails. We're sitting there promoting this woman's wine only to find out that she's a very empowered man.
You know what we should do? We should find women winemakers and literally try their wine and promote their wine.
We should absolutely do that. I'm sure that that's probably being done, but we should do it in the Southwest or Southeast United States.
There you go, Rose.
Okay. All right. Assignment for Rose. Who's taking notes? Who's doing the minutes? Okay. Let's see. Let's go around. We wanted to talk about our most meaningful episodes. And when I pulled up that email and saw all the people, so we've been on for 52 weeks, obviously, but we've done 45 shows because we have to replay sometimes. And I couldn't believe some of the talented people we've had and some of the really prickly, thorny issues that we've tackled. Carrie, let's start with you. What were some of your favorite ones?
I'm going to start on a positive note. And I want to start with Lisa Davis, because Lisa has been through a lot in her life. She is just so accomplished when it comes to mental health and physical health and time management, managing kids, starting her own business. She's obviously an accomplished makeup artist. She's all about health, fitness, wellness from the inside to the outside. And I just found her so inspirational as far as time management goes. And there is enough time to go to the gym, and there is enough time to take care of your body, and there is enough time to eat right and eat green. And I just thought,
Balance.
And she's such a beautiful woman. So you would see her from the outside, and it's very easy to judge her as having an easy life, but she hasn't had an easy life, and she's gone through challenges. She just recently, she's gone through a divorce, and she's gone through loss in her life and things like that. And she's still so positive and inspiring. So she touched me in a very good way that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. She does share with you a lot whenever you follow her on her blogs and Instagram and that sort of thing. She lets you see the reality of that life that looks so picture perfect from the outside. And I appreciate her rawness and her candor in sharing with us. I really do.
Too.
Yeah,
Me too.
she's been so generous. She's big on promoting other women, helping other women reach their goals, positive energy, positive vibrations. I just like everything about her. I like what she's doing. Yeah. Let's say Kimmy now. What's one of your favorite shows, and what did you like about it?
One of my favorite ones was when we had Kelly Ott on. She, she's all into the women's movement. And she started the Oasis Center for Girls, which is a place that celebrates women and girls and also gives them resources. And I went back and watched part of it today. And she's so knowledgeable. But I wanted to give a shout out because one of Oasis Center's biggest fundraisers is coming up in October. It is the celebration of women and girls, where they do a variety show, and women and girls come and put on different acts. And that's going to be October 21st at TCC.
And
we're actually sponsoring that. Yeah.
Oh, good.
We're going to do your Dancing with the Stars dances, right?
That's just Kimmy trying to get her Dancing with the Stars routine out
Trophy
there
again.
Trying to recycle it back.
But also,
enjoy.
I wanted to say with Kelly Ott too, she brought up that program that I wanted to mention again for anyone watching, that it's a Women Can Run program, where if you want to go get training and get in this group to run for an office locally, they will help you. And their mission is to raise the number of women running for local office. And so I love it. So cool. And so another plug to anybody out there who may be thinking about that.
Yes. Always remember, never forget, if you don't have a seat at the table, you are probably on the menu. So get your seat at the table. All right. Because there's probably some bunch of dudes up there making decisions that affect you. Don't you want to be heard? Yeah, I'm all about that. I was just looking over our list. We've had some extraordinary elected leaders make time for our little project here on Thursday afternoons. We had Diane Williams Cox, City Commissioner Diane Williams Cox, talking about running. And she's been in mine and Jimmy's orbit for many, many years. We've known her, but we've supported her in her attempts to run for a couple of things. I think she ran for a state house a couple of times. And then she ultimately ran and won as city commissioner, but she didn't give up, and she didn't let somebody tell her no, or it's too hard, or women don't belong here, or Black women don't belong here. She kept going. So I think it's wonderful to be encouraged to run for office and have representation, so the young boys and girls who look up to you see representation. We had a representative, Allison Tant, on, and she's talked about differently abled people. I like that because I think people who look like they have a disability might immediately get treated differently. We talk about people who have invisible disabilities that you can't really see, things that they struggle with, and they get totally ignored with their struggles. But the people who have an apparent disability, they have different challenges in the world. And so many times they're forgotten because there's just not as many of them, they're just not represented. They don't have a big lobby. They don't have a bunch of people raising a lot of attention. So whenever people who identify with those challenges and try to help people meet them come out and share their stories and encourage us all to take just a minute and be grateful for the things we have and remember there are people who have different abilities. I thought those were very moving EmPower Hour sessions that we've had. Rose, what about you?
Yeah, well, I wanted to shout out Kelly Ott as well. I just really loved that episode because it was so what she does and what Oasis does is so inclusive. Like it's for every type of woman and girl can gain confidence, gain skills. Like there's no limits to it, and I thought that was awesome. And kind of on the same vein of empowering girls, especially, I really enjoyed having Marcia Dahl on. She just has such a good energy. We're probably complete opposites in terms of the way we vibe, but I really enjoy her. Every time I see her, she's always smiling, always positive, always putting the best face on, always hustling, always doing something. She was really fun to have on.
Yeah, and she's another one, kind of a lot like Lisa Davis, who, when you look at her, she looks like she's having this just larger than life, over the top experience that just looks like every day is a movie set. And a lot of times it is. I mean, a lot of times it is in her life, but she's had a lot of struggles. I mean, she's had some significant health challenges that she's spoken about, and she helps other women who struggle with, she's struggled with breast cancer, and as well as other injuries that happen just going through life. But she just never wears that face out for the world, because I think to her, maybe if she did wear that face, that would become really who she is. It would just change her energy and everything, and she's not doing that. We had so many people on who say things like that, don't we?
Yeah,
they're just not going to let it get them. Kia, let's get to you. What was your favorite program, or one that was pretty significant, stands out to you?
I think mine, and I just told Kimmy about my whole list. I think my biggest one was actually Jennifer Powell, how she stood in her faith. Like she literally made sure that everything she did was faith driven, and that kind of hit home. And I was like, you got to keep putting that first. So yeah, and I think that was one of the ones that was too far emotional.
Yeah.
I really like Jennifer Powell too. She was on my list also because, and let me just interrupt myself to say this. Everybody that we've had has been fantastic. Like it's so hard to come up with a favorite, right? Yeah. But Jennifer Powell's a standout to me too, because, being athletic and playing sports, I really, really am impressed with how she's encouraging girls to play sports and continue in sports, because I think it's so valuable, and I see so much value in it, when girls become women. So I was impressed with her for her involvement with Girls on the Run. And in addition to that, she's a beauty pageant queen. So It's like, you really can't judge a book by its cover, because who would think a beauty pageant queen would be somebody who would be such a big tomboy, I love that about her.
Well, it speaks to the multi dimensions of people, and how you don't have to pick one thing. You don't have to be athletic or girly. Right. You don't have to decide I want to be business owner, but I also want to be feminine and I want to make a home for my family. That's the way I view women's empowerment, is feeling completely whole and supported in every choice that you make, and not having to fit anybody else's model of what you should be and your life should be based on your gender, you know. I really like so many of our people, like Marcia Dahl, you know, and I always kind of identified with that too, because I don't dress up and put on the nines every day, but when you do, it's almost like a suit of armor. Sometimes it's almost like a uniform. It does change the way you think about yourself, the way you feel about yourself. Just like whenever you're just, you know, tooling around with your, you know, no makeup, hair down, you know, just chilling, that puts out a different vibe. So I just like women to feel empowered in every choice they make, you know, from how they dress to, you know, who they spend their life with to how they earn their living, that sort of thing. Let's see, who else has one they'd like to talk about?
I want to talk about the ones that made us cry.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. He and I be crying all the time.
y'all got me crying on a couple of these now.
Oh.
Wait, and then Dana goes back into the darkness, like, I'm not going to let you see.
So one was Pat Tuthill, who came on and told us a story about how her daughter was murdered. I think it was in the late 90s. And she turned that horrible event into a fire that fueled her to advocate against the thing that contributed to what happened. Basically, her daughter was murdered by someone who'd been let out of prison in one state and transferred to a halfway house in another state, back when I guess states could do that to get felons out of, you know, off their bankroll and just put them in another state. And then they're not really monitored at the halfway house. And so that's how that guy was able to stalk her daughter and ultimately murder her. Oh my gosh, if anybody watching, if you haven't seen that one, it is powerful, and she really tells you the whole story. But then she went and advocated to help get legislation put in that prevented that for the interstate transfer of felons, to get them off their bankroll, so that when dangerous folks were being released from prison, they were being tracked and monitored.
That was amazing. I think we're going to re-show that episode next Thursday at 4:30, aren't we? Because we've all got to be out of town for an event. But that one was moving. And if you just for a moment have the empathy to even think about trying to be in her shoes and experience this and find, and you would just think, you've got to find something. You've got to find something to come out of this, some purpose in this, you know, or I just don't know how you go on. And so I respect her so much for working through that pain and doing something to try to make sure nobody else has it. You know, to feel like you're doing something good is coming out of that. I don't even know. I can't begin to put get my head around it. But when we have people like that on the show who do share parts of their lives that are so unique and so outside of the normal experience, nobody else could ever relate to it. I really appreciate their bravery and their generosity in coming on the show and sharing their stories with us.
Yeah. And that one in particular made me think about our Come Back Stronger show that we have, because hers is a Come Back Stronger story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But anyways.
I know, right? It's not too long. Lord.
Let's see. Let's get back to who else we got. You got Carrie. What else are you thinking about another show that was meaningful to you?
I liked Berenice Cox, who is head of the United Way here. She's another one, and I mean, she's another one who's just suffered a big loss in her life with losing her son, and you know, he already had a lot of challenges during his life, and she's just such an impressive woman. And now to be, you know, running the United Way here in town, she's got a plate full, and she's just such a giving, caring human being. You know, it's so inspirational to see how big her heart is and how kind she is. But there's so many people like that we interviewed. I also liked the autism discussion that we had with Krista Kerr.
Yeah,
and
that was a real important EmPower
It
Hour.
was, and I learned so much from her.
Yeah.
And it's a very sensitive topic, and it's really hard to talk about. And we had some ongoing discussions for many weeks following that conversation with her. And I thought that was very thought-provoking and very educational for me to talk about neurodiverse people. So
yeah, no, that one was really, really significant because it was a real exercise in empathy for me. We had this show and none of us have a particularly close interest in it, other than we all know people who have, this in their lives to deal with. But none of us are like real dialed into that community. I was trained I have a master's in social work. And when I was in school, it was well before we started saying it was a spectrum disorder. You called them certain things and stuff. And I referenced on the program that when I was in school as a child, these children were called retarded and taken out of the mainstream. Mm-hmm. And someone was very offended by the thing. They said, Dana Brooks called my child retarded. And of course, I would never do that. And we even went back to the point in the discussion where I said, no, back then these children were taken out of the mainstream and referred to as retarded, actually. But what it taught me was when you have so much at stake that you're talking about your child and things that affect your child, and you are tired of mainstream information and you're tired of hearing things that don't make sense to you and aren't true to your story. And you are almost spring loaded. It's confirmation bias almost. Like when you go into a room and you expect to get negative treatment, you're going to find negative treatment, or you expect pushback, you're going to see pushback. And of course, none was intended by us. We intended to always have this forum as a place for people to share ideas and also to have alternative ideas felt like they should be welcomed and shared, of course. And we always want to encourage that. But it just was a lesson in empathy to me into, how it must be to struggle with something that not everybody struggles with, and to have so much opposing you when you are just trying to do the best possible thing you can do for your children. So that one was a real eye opener to me.
And I think,
Rose,
like you touched on with Allison Tant, that people don't recognize a lot of disabilities. So people aren't dialed into ableism the way they are to racism, to sexism. Like I would never say these racial slurs, but I might accidentally say something that's outdated language or whatever. And so people who are affected by that in their lives are used to just being, blown off. And so I think can be very sensitive to that. And but yeah, everybody needs to have empathy for each other to learn and grow. And if you're called out on something, to examine that and be like, I absolutely, that is not what I intended and not what I meant. We can all move on and hopefully understand each other a little bit better.
Yeah, there's just, whenever you have thorny issues, you're going to have things like that. But that's why you need to kind of always, I think, examine, what's really happening versus what did I anticipate was going to happen?
Like
what did I think?
That word, and I,
it's a triggering word. It's like it's any other word, N word. That has meaning. It shouldn't be used cavalier. It certainly is not a word I feel belongs to me, but that word does exist. So I think the most important thing to do is just go, wait, am I being triggered? Am I listening to this? But that could happen in any of these discussions. We were talking about some topics just today to have on the EmPower Hour. We're like, well, I don't want to offend that person to talk about it. Yeah, but this person could be taken advantage of. So, we're lawyers, we're personal injury lawyers. We started this program because we had some time in COVID and we were so sick of the negativity. If you don't remember, we were during a presidential race and campaigning and COVID and voting, and there was never anything good on the news. And so we just got so sick of it. And I said, man, it sure would be great to have these Come Back Stronger shows featured, based on Jimmy Fasig, our law partner, his book and his mission. Started doing that. And then we started thinking about all this women's empowerment that we wanted to do. And so this just started with, we have some time, we're all on Zoom, might as well do it. And let's share some of these wonderful people that are in our lives with other people. And it has really gotten a wonderful response. Haven't you been pleased with the feedback we've gotten on it, Kia? You've seen the numbers on it, a lot of engagement.
A lot of engagement. I think it's good to talk about good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. That's what makes up or should be making up America. We should definitely be able to talk about anything. I don't have to agree with you, but I can reason. I can get an understanding of where you're coming from so that we can try to figure out where the common ground is somewhere. And this was a great platform to do it in.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times you everybody wants to be polite and be pleasant or whatever, but the truth is this, you're the black face on our show. So yeah, I do want to hear from you whenever we have Dr. Mitchum on to talk about race in the workplace. I know my experience, duh. Why do I want to talk about that all the time? I want to hear another perspective. I want to hear about, I think we had one episode on, it was another thorny one, Carrie. It was LGBTQ parenting. Because this was coming up in my particular orbit a lot among my peer group. I was having a lot of friends who were parenting children in their late teens, early adulthood, and this was coming up. And so I thought, I don't know what the frequency is. I imagine it's just you feel more comfortable sharing things and talking to your friends and getting support. Now, I hope that that's the reason. But, we started talking about it, and Carrie and I talked about it and some other of us on the panel. And we said, well, my friend thinks this is a good show. She thinks we're going to talk about this. But then I started trying to get people to come on. Couldn't do it. And what I kept hearing was, I'm totally cool with it, but I don't want to do anything to make my child uncomfortable. They're cool that I want to get into it, whatever, but they, and I'm like, cool, 100% cool. And we ended up getting someone who specialized in counseling families who want some help with that issue. So I thought that was an interesting one. Like I said, we're lawyers. We're not trying to be Oprah, but it just kind of evolves into that kind of Oprah-like stuff. I just look at my friend group and I think, okay, what are you struggling with? You're all empowered women. I got friends from my friends' kids' age to one of my best friends is 80. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, if it's affecting any of them, surely some other people want to talk about it. Rose, what were you thinking when you envisioned what the Empower Hour might turn into, what we might do with it?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because it's interesting. Like when we started, not just the show, but the whole group, there was a lot of discussion about what is this? Is it like, are we writing blogs? Are we just like, as a platform just for us? Are we wanting more, people to share their voices? Oh my God, what if people say things that we don't agree with? And I think it's really
lots of angst.
Yeah, it turned out to be a very positive space, for the most part. We've had maybe 2 or 3 things come up over the year or more that we've been doing it where we're like, ooh, we should probably not go there and delete that. That's negative. But for the most part, people have been very supportive of each other on the group. And I'm not one to get out there and mingle, so I've met a ton of people that I wouldn't have.
But they're cool people that you would like, though.
Yes,
you would dig with.
So it's been a great experience for me.
I walk away every Thursday, and sometimes it's hard to do this show because we are active litigators and we do have a very, very busy personal injury practice. And sometimes it's hard to walk away at 4:15 and be like, oh, we got to do the show. And sometimes it feels a little like drudgery sometimes. And then I walk away from it every time thinking I'm a better person because I just met that guest and I just heard this amazing discussion and how lucky I am to be as part of it. Mm-hmm. So, personally, it's just allowed me to grow so much. And I never anticipated that I would be the one benefiting or growing from all this. I thought everybody else would, you know what I mean? Because I'm already growing. Why would I need to grow? But when we had the girl on, was it Audrey, the girl for ending period poverty? How inspirational is she?
Amaya.
So I learned so much from them, from, a girl in high school who recognizes the need to have period products for free in all the schools. And here she is, 16 years old. And so you don't think you're going to learn something from a 16-year-old girl, and then all of a sudden you walk away from a conversation like that completely inspired and in awe of somebody and wanting to be a better person, knowing that you can do things to be a better person. So.
And then, Carrie, the amazing thing about all of this is all the bridges we're building. Like not breaking them down. Like I now get text messages from Amaya telling me to check my lipstick or check my, she's like, don't go on unless your lip gloss is flawless, Miss Kia. But those are things that, you're developing, with having these type of relationships and reaching out to them. And then it's allowing the law firm to be able to continue to be in the community. I think a lot of people see you guys on billboards and just truly believe that's all you are. The things that we do in here, and I know I get on Rose's nerves, but the things we do.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right?
Exactly. But we know that she's so motivated to be out in the community. I think everything that you all have already started and continuously building on is just showing the community that you are actually walking the walk. This is something you all want to live by. And it's not just that you're going to be leaving behind just showing the people the leadership. You're going to be leaving a legacy of your leadership because you guys are doing such an amazing job and you're stepping out there and saying, hey, we can talk about these topics. Let's open the door and let's talk about it. Let's break these glass ceilings. And how else can we help? Because every single time we end it, when Dana is ending it, it's what do you get from this and how can we move forward? What other initiatives can we bring to the table? How can we continue to build up Tallahassee and even Florida, period? So I think this platform is amazing, guys. It's only going to get better.
I think so. I love it. I wish sometimes we had more, time we could devote to it in a lot of ways. Although I think we do a lot. And our producer, Whitney Moore, she certainly, all this stuff that happens behind the scenes, that's all, her getting these wonderful guests and coordinating this every week and promoting it. But there's just, I was really tickled to learn how many wonderful women there are. And then I was really gratified to see how many people have contacted us and said they would like to be on. That was really, I was like, wow, this thing, they like us. It was good. Kimmy, what were you thinking when we first started with the EmPower Hour and the EmPower Plant? What did you envision? What were your trepidations? What were your thoughts when we started?
So when we started the Facebook group, I was actually really nervous about it because I'm not a big social media person. I go on and I like troll other people's pages, if that's the
Of course.
I scroll through them all, but I don't post very much. When I do, I spend like an hour painstakingly editing it. So I remembered I took a trip, the last trip my husband and I took together, just ourselves, to Asheville, North Carolina. It was right before we launched. And the assignment was, think of how you want to introduce yourself on this platform. And golly, I spent a long time trying to write those 3 sentences. It's like, how am I going to introduce myself? So I was a little bit nervous, but I really enjoy both this program and also the EmPower Plant being on my Facebook feed, because then it's just positive memes and interesting stuff. And I like having that positivity. And
I was so excited to see the engagement that we get on the EmPower Plant. This is a business. We are a law firm. We do hope that you will think of us if you or anybody needs a personal injury lawyer or any kind of lawyer, because if we don't do it, we'll put you in touch with somebody we know and trust who can take care of you. But that's kind of a secondary motivation, obviously. But we wanted it to be successful. We wanted to do some good in the community, because that's also how you remember people, not just their TV commercials and their billboards or their buses. And so when we started the EmPower Plant, it was kind of funny because we are all a little different in how we are on social media. I'm very out there. Jimmy is out there to a certain degree, a little bit more intentional, I guess. And then we literally have people whose job it is in our firm to manage things like that. Production, posts, things like that. But that's another thing that's empowering to me, is I wanted everybody to feel like they could express and participate to the extent they're comfortable with. Because, there's a lot of people like, oh, post this, make your employees post this. I'm like, I'm not telling people what to do and what to post and stuff like that. I would like for them to feel, good about what we're doing and want to share things that we do in the community with their world. But I mean, that's a uniquely personal thing. So that's just another part to me of empowerment. You decide what you want to do in your life. what you're comfortable with. And that also is the amount of time and resources you're willing to give to other people to support what they're doing. Because that's one thing I think we've learned on this show is you can get caught up in too much do-goodness, and you could end up spreading yourself too thin, not taking care of yourself and your needs and your priorities. And then you end up resentful, because you're not getting as much in exchange for all that stuff you're putting out. So then you resent all the people you're putting out to. So we have had a lot of episodes on self-care. What are some of the ones that y'all remember best, or some of the best self-care tips that you recall getting? Anybody?
Mine is meditation.
Let's talk about meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation.
We've had a couple like meditation and
did y'all start doing it? I'm gonna shut up. Did any of y'all start doing it, change your meditation behaviors? Let's talk about meditation.
I really want to. Like, we've had a couple meditation, like self-mindfulness things, which I thought were fascinating, because I always thought it was a bunch of, not for me. And then I learned about it and I was like, wow, I could do that. I really want to do that. And I still want to do it. I haven't started doing it yet, but also for me, my meditation is like playing soccer or running or whatever, because that is where I clear my mind. And I think that's what meditation is about, is just really clearing your mind. So, but I would like to get up every morning at 6:30 with my children and meditate for 15 minutes all together, deep breathing. I think that would be really beneficial. So I learned a lot during those meditation ones.
Carrie, do you remember when we had one guest on and she had us do the thing where we calm down? And I remember afterwards, Carrie, you were like, that was so hard.
It was. And you know what? I was just thinking about that today too, Kimmy, since you've been in trial. I was like, how the hell are those jurors paying attention for this long during trial? Because you've been in trial for 4 days. I would be like on my phone working while I'm listening, like, come on.
That's what I did. Yeah. I went down there to watch it. And I'm like, I can't. It was a video of a deposition. I was like, I'm going to at least get through some email while this is going on.
Right. Yeah. I can't sit still. So it was hard for me to sit still for like 1 minute with my eyes closed and like breathe,
Yeah. But if you can do it now, this is the truth. And I think we had Pamela Chamberlain on about it, remember? And we had, who else did we have on about meditation? Gosh, I'm blanking. What is her name? But even if you could do it just for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it really does make a difference. Jimmy, our law partner, Jimmy Fasig, he's the master meditator. He knows all about it. And he has blocked pain signals. He's changed everything, chakra, all kinds of stuff. I have to Google every time he starts talking to me. All kinds of stuff. And he can change it just sheer with mental power. Let's see. We also had some people who came on and they talked to us about redefining careers. Remember Tally Calico and Jennifer Seymour? They were lawyers who came up from real traditional, standard law school, summer associate, associate, senior associate, junior partner, that kind of track, and very traditional firms, by the hour type things a lot of time. And they just said, this just isn't working for me. I just can't get the kind of life I want with this kind of a framework. And they got together with some other people and they just kind of created their own version of a modern day law practice for, women, for a modern woman. What do you guys remember about that? And how did you feel about their taking on kind of the establishment like they did? We're kind of like that at our firm, but that's interesting to hear them do it.
It's always interesting, they're obviously still using their law degrees, so it's not the same as like leaving the profession entirely, because I feel like there's a big stigma to that of like, you fought this hard and you got this degree and now you're just going to go do something else. What the hell?
Right.
They're very much, still in this milieu, but to step outside of that, the traditional firm structure where, you're on an upward trajectory, you're gonna be at the top of your firm someday, but you're not today. So I think that's, if you can stand the risk, inspiring to go out and do what you want to be doing.
Yeah, think about that, Carrie, because you and I came up through that structure too. And just anytime you need to go do anything with a kid or go to a practice or anything, it was just like an extra layer of feeling like you needed to explain yourself to justify it.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like that? Yeah.
Oh, all the time. I mean, you come out of law school and you're top of your class and doing well, and you're supposed to go to a big firm and you're supposed to commit, 2,300 hours a year billing time to them. And it's just, it's all encompassing. And I still feel guilty. I've been a plaintiff's lawyer for 5 years, and I still feel guilty when I have to leave for a doctor's appointment, because it's built in after doing that for 16 years. Yeah. I'm like, how am I going to capture this time? I'm like, wait, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay. So it's brutal. I mean, you become a slave to a billable hour at a big firm like that.
But it's not just the billable hour, it's the way you get the billable hour. I was thinking about that this week. Like I woke up, and this is what I want everybody to think about coming out of COVID and the hybrid post-COVID life that we're going to do. There are so many things that we did, we got nothing for. So much time we spent in cars, to show up in offices at a certain time of day to show that we took our job seriously. Yeah. Whenever we never had those guys, the guys who showed up, they basically got up, probably, took a shower, ate something, maybe went for a jog, shower in the car in the office. They're not worried about backpacks. They're not worried about school projects. They're not worried about lunches, permission slips, any of that stuff. They're not worried about orthodontic appointments. They're not worried about picking you up after school and this is the day you got to go to mathnasium. They don't do that. They get up, do their thing, take care of them, get to work. Somebody else, some maestro in the background is taking care of all those other things that make his life happen. And I'm nothing against men. I would love that. Sign me up for that gig. But I didn't get that gender ID. And so until we change that, that is the expectation. And there's nothing wrong with expecting things to go the way they always have gone. That's why you can't get mad at men for enjoying this privilege that they have. I mean, I would too. But I'm just saying it's very hard for women to achieve what they want and not doing it with a lot of real attitude and drudgery. You can do it because we've all done it. My generation, we all did it. We were just real resentful because we had to do that plus everything else. But now if you just think of things a little bit differently, think of gender roles a little bit differently, this post-COVID thing, think about maybe I don't need to drive 2 hours a day to show up in person at things. Maybe look at everything on your calendar. Is this an in-person thing I have to do? And if it isn't, take your time back, because if nothing else, if you don't even produce something for that same amount of time, you won't have the anxiety of worried about being late, worried about being there on time, worried about what you're not doing while you're spending 2 hours in the car. Right. It's just stop making yourself crazy thinking you've got to fit into this old version of what successful people look like they did. When Carrie and I came up through these traditional firms, if you came in on a Monday, the partner looking at, well, I didn't see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest cut they could give you.
People would go and park their cars.
You have no idea what I do.
People would park their cars in the parking lot just to make sure that it looked like they were at work.
Sure.
So if the partners drove by, it looked like you were there billing time. So
you see what I mean? But did you really, what did we get for that? That was all a big facade. That was just all a game. They weren't getting more, better work. It was just a mousetrap that they had created. We had to learn to navigate. So I'm just saying now let's just be a little more honest and a little bit more, just get real. Like today I had some things that I wanted to do, but I'm like, this is the prettiest day. I'm already down here at the coast. This is the prettiest, crispest, sunniest day we have had in a while. And I'm like, there's not a thing I can't do remotely, So why would I rob myself just to go make my face seen in an office, but that's how things should be. So I challenge people to just think about the way you spend your time. And if it feels like bullshit, maybe call yourself on it. I don't know. All right. Okay. Before we wrap up today, anybody else, I want to go around, anybody else have a significant one that they were to talk about, but what I want to end with is what should we go to next? And I'm looking at this list and it occurs to me, this is Suicide Prevention Month. And I just got finished watching y'all 9 Perfect Strangers. Kimmy, remember I gave you that book? Mm-hmm. Have you finished watching that miniseries on Hulu?
I don't know if I didn't watch the series. I read the book, but I didn't watch the series.
It just ended last night. Nicole Kidman, anyway. But it mainly drilled down on that family. Remember that family whose the son had killed himself. And this is what's fascinating about it. That's why I want to bring some people on it. They have worked enough with people who have attempted but failed at suicide to learn so many things that I think would be helpful in convincing people not to do it, not to try it. So many of them said that they are so thankful that it didn't work, that it was an impulse that popped in their head in a nanosecond. Thank God they failed. Mm-hmm. And so there's just a lot of, you know, when I was in school, we didn't hear stories like that. You know, they told us to guilt people, like tell them to imagine their daughter finding their head blown off all over the place. Whatever gruesome, horrible thing you could do to talk them out of it, you did. But there's a lot of data and research now behind interventions, and there are more people attempting it and completing it now more than ever because of the isolation, I think, also. Plus the world's just changing more rapidly than I think we're able to keep up with it. But I would love for us to do a show on that. It's going to be another downer, but I think it could help enough people that it's worth doing. What about the rest of y'all? Kia, Rose, Carrie, what would you like to see us do a show on, or what other memorable show would you like to talk about?
I think, and I know this young lady is not here in Tallahassee, but she is definitely someone that I think we need to kind of cross paths with. Her name is Valencia Gunder. She is doing some huge things in Miami, dealing with gentrification, dealing with weatherization, so to speak, because of how the weather is changing. It's causing different ethnic groups to be moved out of their areas. She's also the founder of Make Miami Smile, which is dealing with the homeless and veterans and making sure that they're giving them the things that they need. Because think about it, Miami is probably one of the hardest hit places when we have catastrophic,
well, it's already underwater. It's already, I mean, just like New Orleans. No good could come from it.
Exactly. So she's doing some really good things down in Miami and trying to make sure that she's also dealing with inmate reform as far as women and them having their babies, in the facilities and then just getting torn away from them. She's been actually working with another senator. I think his name is Piazzio, I want to say, from Miami, with assisting them with doing more so of a transition and not just ripping them away from their babies. I know that's a lot, but she encompasses so much as well. So I know that she would be something that could definitely add to this. And then she's also a part of the LGBT community as well. It was kind of hard for her to come out as well. So those are some great topics I think we can definitely venture into.
I love all of that. You and I were just talking to Jimmy Fasig last week about gentrification. Mm-hmm. It just seems like it's everywhere. When I drive around our town, I just see it everywhere. Because of the routes that I take across town.
Exactly. Yeah. Even going down Meridian, you one side one way, and then you look back up in the bushes and it's a whole nother thing. Yeah. It's, using our platforms to bring things to the attention and then seeing what else initiatives or what other master classes and different things we can do. I can
learn from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, those are great ideas, Kia. Those are great ideas. Rose, what about you? Any other memorable episodes or things that you would like to see us cover on the EmPower Hour?
Well, I wanted to shout out the Bens, Ben Gant and Ben Graybar, our first
Empowered men,
talking about financial literacy, something a lot of people, especially women who rely on their husbands, need to know about. And then going into the future, we talked about it a little bit on our group chat about doing some things for domestic violence, especially intimate partner violence, with the Gabby Petito story coming out recently. And I watched that whole hour and a half long dash cam footage from when her and the boyfriend were pulled over a couple weeks before this all happened. And it's very easy, if you do not know what to look for to completely misinterpret a situation.
Really?
She's crying, she's freaking out, he's completely calm. They both cover for him, be because she doesn't want him to get in trouble, because she knows that'll mean trouble for him later. And the cops just completely go with it. And it's you can see that as a lay observer watching that. You're well, the girl was going nuts and the cops separated them, and what else were they supposed to do? But if know the signs,
This is another reason I really want women to take very seriously their ability to financially care for themselves and their children, because women stay with these men and protect these men so much, not because they love them more. It's because that's an investment. That's your livelihood. It's like fighting for your job or your paycheck. It's how you and your kids eat. That's why, men, used to get drunk on payday and beat their wives, and they go spend the night in jail and their wives come get them out. Oh, yeah. Well, they just want abuse. No, they want to eat.
Yeah.
They want the lights to stay on, and they like to not be evicted, because if you can't work, that's what they and their husbands or they and their children are looking for. So that, again, is why it is so very important to have your own access to your own money, no matter what. Your life literally depends on it. That poor girl. But that's what she's saying, and she's got an investment in this guy.
Yeah.
I
think across the country from where they live, like what?
Right.
Band, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, but she was a travel blogger, though. I think she had her own livelihood, and I think that they were high school sweethearts, and this is a cycle of emotional abuse for her that, according to what I read in the press, that maybe his parents protected. Right. They protected him. And so I really agree with Rose. I think we need to do some shows on emotional abuse and mental abuse and domestic violence.
Yeah, because there are some people who can't leave and there are people who can and choose not to. But, we've got to stop this whole focus on examining the behavior of the victim and having her, usually her, have to explain herself and her choices. Right. We've got to change and normalize making sure we don't raise abusers. Yeah. And we don't raise people who are so insecure in their gender roles. And that's usually what it is. They don't feel manly enough or this enough, accomplished enough, important enough.
Like, what age do I talk to my child about not being abusive? Like
now. Yes, now.
I think you start from the beginning. But we used to do with our kids, any teaching moment, like if there's a TV show or whatever, if there's somebody on. How many of y'all watched that little girl Bella on TikTok? The little girl who dips.
Yep.
Oh, I love Bella. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But do you notice how she watches Disney, and they'll talk about the Beast and who's a bully on Mulan, and you know what I mean? It's never too early to talk about empowerment and bullying and standing up for yourself and the right way to handle conflict. This kid's 2 years old and she's nailing it.
Right. That's also sons from the beginning, because we're teaching Axel, listen, you don't hit your sister. You open doors for your sister. You make sure that she's okay. And although he's the middle, he's helping with the baby, and he helps with the oldest. Like, I got your volleyball backpack, Kennedy. But that's to show him this is how you take care of women. You need
to be gentle and be kind to all of them. Yeah,
exactly. You have to teach them both ways, what your daughters should not deal with and what your sons should, or how they should be treating, women in their life, and what our girls should be looking at when they're looking into the man of their life. Like, how are they treating their mom? How are they treating their sister? Those are the things that we should be looking into.
Yeah, I said this one time, I got a lot of feedback. It was on a Facebook post, and I said, I get very frustrated with men who will expect for their daughters to receive better treatment than they provide to their daughters' mothers. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's not rational. If they're gonna do what they see, they're gonna think that's normal. So if you disrespect their mothers, expect to see somebody disrespect your daughter. Mm-hmm. So. What about you, Kia? What other kind of shows would you like to see us talk about? You talked about gentrification, weatherization, inmate reform. Carrie talked about domestic violence. Anything from your perspective as a young mother in the African-American community, as a woman professional, anything else that you're thinking of?
I think one of my keywords are always equity.
Yeah.
And I think in any topic that we talk about, we have to redirect it back to that. Even down to utilizing the platforms. And I just want to say this, working in this firm, although I know we all see color, I don't feel it. We're all treated the exact same. Now, unless some things are being said behind closed doors, which I doubt. But
but I don't like to say
very direct. I'm just saying, utilizing the platform that you all are using, I think that that's much appreciated. And if we can keep going down that road to show that we aren't afraid to ensure that people understand that, yes, they may see me this way, but I'm utilizing my privilege to make sure that every woman or every, woman of color or white, Black, Jewish, Hispanic, it does not matter. I'm utilizing the platform that I have to ensure that all women or all children, all men are being able to give that fairness. I am not about equality, I'm about equity, the fairness. And I think most of us, even from my community, that's what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. We're not worried about what's on the billboard, because as long as you're treating us genuinely, the color does not matter. So I think if we keep going down those lines based on the topics, that I've, spoken about, we're going to be good. And we're going to open up the doors for so many women to be able to break those glass ceilings.
I think that's awesome. And I appreciate your feedback on that, because you like to say you don't see color, but you need to see color because it matters. It informs everybody's experience. You need to respect it. But there's a difference between that and walking around eggshells and let it inform every discussion, being afraid to even talk about something, which is what I came up with. It was just like, don't talk about it.
Right.
Kimmy, we only have a few minutes. I want to get to you. Did I miss anybody else other than Kimmy on what else we want to talk about in the future? This has been a great one.
This has.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I've been thinking a lot about sustainability issues lately and using the power of my purchases to help the environment. And so maybe having somebody on that talks about where we are from an environmental standpoint and what we can do in our day-to-day life, maybe even just little changes, such as, not using reusable or throwaway water bottles or whatever that is. Just get somebody that's really in tune to that to come talk with us about it.
That's an excellent idea, because that's very hot right now. Everybody's talking about it. Think about this. Like they said, most of the methane emission is coming from burps from lambs and cows. And so I'm like, I had no idea, man. And so I thought that sounded ridiculous. And I looked it up. No, it's true. And so if you stop eating, that's why you hear about meatless Mondays. If you don't eat meat one day a week, that's 15% less meat consumption. That is appreciable in the world. And if you look at about how like the water or the canals in Venice got clear during COVID, and the collective sound of the earth came down during COVID when we weren't all out running around. Don't tell me you can't influence. I remember somebody I had a lot of respect for say, oh, I think it's arrogant to think a human can have any kind of impact on the earth God created. And I'm like, do you think it just doesn't matter that we're here? We used to be not here and we're here now. You don't really think there's any difference? No impact, really? Okay. But yeah, that's nuts. That's ridiculous to think you don't impact it and that you're not harming it in ways more than you're helping it. We've got a lot we could talk about. These are great topics. I'm so glad you all made time to just do a little recap with us today. Rose, I think you got a lot of important feedback on the drinks. So next time we do a recap, we
women wine for the rest of the year.
I thought this was good. I thought this green thing was good. And I don't like green.
Have me one tomorrow. Save me one. Okay. I just did a mimosa. Very basic. I did put a little Saint Germain in it. I learned that from Rose. Sassed it up a little bit. And we've got some great ideas for the next sessions. We are so thankful to the people, the wonderfully empowering, inspiring men and women who made time to visit with us at 4:30s on Facebook Live on the EmPower Hour and share with you their wisdom and insight in how to make the world a better, fairer, more equitable place for men and women and boys and girls everywhere. So thank you, everybody. And we will see you next Thursday at 4:30, where we will replay the Pat Tuthill show. So see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.